来访，不亦乐乎。今天的客人是谁呢？Andrew 杨，科罗拉多大学波德分校 University of Colorado Boulder 大三学生，主修媒体制作以及资讯工程 Media Production and Information Science。Andrew 热爱拍摄街头照片，也拍摄电影幕后纪录相片，并参与编辑与制作视频。去年秋季学期中 ，Andrew 在学校选修了一个名为“海上学期”的精彩课程。这个课程带领学生们真实地踏上了大型邮轮，环游世界。也将学校的学习课程搬到了海上进行。Andrew 与一同参与课程的近600名学生与教授前往9个不同的国家，从德国登船起航。海上学期课程将 Andrew 带往第一站西班牙，紧随其后的是加纳、南非、印度、缅甸、越南、中国和日本，并在加州圣地亚哥下船前于夏威夷停留。Andrew 在这个特别的海上课程中，独立追踪也深入访谈了世界各地的纹身艺术家的故事，并创作了一部关于这些艺术家的纪录片，也担任摄影指导，与庞大的学生团队一同拍摄记录这个海上学期的歌舞剧电影《La La Land》。今天谁来做客栏目，就带领观众朋友们与 Andrew 一起进入这个探索世界的特别海上大学体验。观众朋友，大家好，我是 Ann， 欢迎收看《谁来做客》。今天为您邀请到一位很特别的客人，他目前就读于科罗拉多大学波德分校的大三，主修媒体制作以及资讯工程的 Andrew Yang。欢迎 Andrew 来我们节目当中。
Hey Ann, hey everyone.
Hey Andrew, I've heard that you had a very unique experience last semester. Can you share it with us?
Yeah, so my last semester of college, in the fall time, I went abroad. So I did a study abroad program, and it's called Semester at Sea.
Oh, so it's not only abroad, it's on the sea.
Yeah, so the program essentially takes students from all over the country and a few international students and puts them on a ship, and kind of the ship just takes them abroad from country to country while we study on the ship.
Cool. Where did you go?
The ship embarks from Germany, so all the students meet in Germany first, and then from there, the ship takes us to Spain, and from Spain to Ghana, to South Africa, and then to India, and then we kind of see Eastern Asian countries from Myanmar, Vietnam, Japan, China, and then we stop by Hawaii before coming back to San Diego.
It seems like you travel the whole world.
Yeah, it's definitely a good program to see everything a little bit.
And you study on the board?
Yeah, so the time we spend on the ship is for studying, and then when we get to port, they kind of just let us go and explore and travel alone.
What are the courses offered on the ship?
So the program is hosted by the Colorado State University. So the catalog of classes is their kind of catalog of classes. So you kind of just select those classes, which is not too many classes. And the professors are all very interesting because they also sign up for the program as well. They're stuck on the ship with you. So you have to be a certain type of professor to want to be able to teach those kind of classes and travel as well with your family.
True. But what are the courses like specifically?
So the courses I took were specialized writing for magazines, evaluating contemporary film, and media business and economics. So the classes are very kind of broad in that sense, and usually when you travel, the topics you study change with the port you're traveling to.
Oh, really?
So say you're traveling to China, you'll start learning more about maybe Chinese film in your film class, or the same thing for India, and the same thing kind of goes for the writing for magazines. You kind of change your topics as you travel.
Definitely.
And you kind of just write about your travels, so it kind of helps with the travel and the courses, the kind of
tied together.
Coincide.
Coordinate together. That's fantastic. But are all the courses tied to the media area, or?
No, you have students kind of from everywhere. So you have oceanography classes that kind of apply to, like, kind of appeal to everyone. At the end of the day, I think people will sign up for the program knowing that they're doing it for the travel, not necessarily for the courses. So it's a good selection of courses, but definitely the focus is the travel aspect.
Definitely. And how many students like participate in it?
We have about 570 students this semester.
That's a lot.
Yeah, we have quite a few students. It's quite a popular program.
Right.
I figured a lot of the students really couldn't decide on picking one place over the other, so they decided semester at sea would be a good chance for them to kind of see a little bit of everything.
Sure. Was it offered every semester, or?
Yeah, they have a spring voyage that's happening right now. They embarked, I think, a few days ago, maybe half a week ago.
Did they go to like different places?
Every few years it changes, but the voyage this time is the same, just in reverse order. So they embark from San Diego and end in Germany.
Cool, cool. How do you apply for it?
The application's pretty simple. It depends on what your school does for it and how much so they advertise it. As I said before, it's hosted by Colorado State University. So if your school links up or partners with that school as well, you can offer the program, and depending on how your schools coordinate, your courses will transfer over pretty well through pass or fail, or just normally, depending on the school that you go to.
Do they like select a lot of students to go there, or they have a very selective?
It's pretty open as far as the states go. I know there's a lot of international students as well, which is a little more selective. So yeah, like maybe one student from Singapore, a few students from Germany, a few students from China, but mostly in the States. It's pretty easy to get accessible to.
How about financially? It could be very expensive to go around the world.
For a lot of students, it's pretty expensive, but they do offer financial aid for a select few students who maybe apply for a few grants or a few different types of scholarships in that kind of sense.
What do you like the best about this program?
It's definitely a good chance to get a glimpse into which countries you like to travel, you would like to travel into the future. You really only get 5 days in port, so it's not too much time, but I think it's enough time to kind of get your feet wet a little bit and seeing what kind of cultures you like and what kind of places you like to travel in.
Sure.
So if you can't really decide on where to go to, you haven't really had any travel experience before, it's definitely a good opportunity.
Definitely. Do you have to plan your travel, or they arrange something for you?
A lot of the students like to do independent travel. On the ship, you do have field programs, which you can sign up for, which are a little more expensive, but it takes out the stress of having to plan by yourself.
It's kind of like the cruise, right?
Yeah, exactly. But as far as I know, most of the students like to do their own kind of planning, and you usually plan either beforehand, or if you're on the ship and you haven't made plans yet, it's a good chance to make new friends and meet new people and travel together. Yeah, travel together.
But it's kind of hard to plan on the ship because the internet is not working that well, right?
Yeah, that's a really interesting topic that the program doesn't advertise very well, is the lack of internet, which is really fun for a lot of the students, and a stressful kind of transition because we're so addicted to our phones, I guess. But a lot of people just have to kind of like look each other in the eyes and try to make these plans together. And I guess the lack of internet is a double-edged sword in the sense that you don't get the research to, plan ahead, but you do get the chance to meet people and see what their plans are and kind of be flexible in that sense.
Right, more interpersonal
more old-fashioned, I guess.
Yeah, that's good. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it teaches you how to kind of do that sort of thing.
Like the real world, like how do you interact with your friends and how to collaborate and coordinate with everything. So like, what's the least favorite stuff?
Say again?
What's the least favorite?
Oh, least
what
favorite.
Do you like
like I said, the internet thing was a stressful thing at first. If you wanted to like look something up, if you can't remember something, you kind of just have to hold it in your brain until you figure it out or ask someone.
Yeah.
So the lack of internet was a stressful thing, but at the same time, I think it was kind of like blessing in disguise because like you really have to go out and meet people and do things by hand.
And also, you did a very, very good documentary on board, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, sure. So while abroad, I am a media student, so a film kind of background. So I decided before the trip I would want to kind of make it sort of a project with my time abroad. I figured if I had the time and the money to go abroad, might as well make a project. So I decided to focus on tattoo artists around the world.
Cool.
So around the world, at each port, I would try to find a tattoo parlor and find a tattoo artist.
Wow.
And just ask them a few questions about tattoos and try to find out how they are the same or how they're different.
Culture differences.
Kind of around the world, yeah.
Right, so what did you find?
It was good. It was a lot of fun. I think asking tattoo artists specifically as a good into like figuring out the cultures of each place. I found out that a lot of the tattoo artists are tattoo artists because they like doing what they do. No one's really doing tattoos.
They really enjoy what they do.
Right, as like for the money, they're doing it because they love doing the art. They love interacting with the people.
Sure.
And they love what they do, yeah. So.
How did you find them?
With the lack of internet, it was kind of stressful and kind of hard because.
So you didn't like contact them before?
No,
you
yeah.
Got, yeah. Okay.
I wish I could have done more planning ahead of time, but we really just get to port and then through Google we just kind of look up whichever parlor was close or nearby, and then from there we just went to the shop, showed up, and asked them. would you be interested in participating?
Do they usually agree or?
There's a few times where we got denied a few times, but for the most part, people were pretty generous with just giving us their time and letting us interview them and film around their parlors. So.
Right. Was the findings the same as you expected?
Definitely not. I thought it would be pretty similar across cultures, across people, and at the same time, I thought maybe the culture would have more to do with how they are possibly different. What I found is that a lot of them just have influenced each other. So a lot of the artists kind of have a distinguished style and kind of artwork, not based off of where they're from, but based off themselves.
Yeah, more personal.
It's very
stuff.
personal,
Yeah.
not so much cultural.
Right.
So as far as the bigger picture goes, a lot of the trends kind of happen globally. So whatever's happening in the world usually happens, will reflect in tattoo culture as well.
Sure,
But
sure.
with their own kind of twist, with their own personal sort
Definitely.
of background and
Definitely.
style.
Right. So it's more personal than the cultural influences. On
Yeah,
the
you definitely end up doing what you want to do because they're all artists and they're all tattoo artists and they all do what they want to do and do what they like doing.
Right.
So it ends up being more so a personal sort of thing, more so than a cultural or geographical thing.
That's interesting. Is there any like age difference?
Yeah, I'd say so. The demographic of people who come in for tattoos is definitely an interesting topic that I try to find out a little bit more about. Generally, the younger people are more kind of fashion inflicted.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Sure.
so you have something called a Pinterest tattoo, which we ran into.
You found something on Pinterest.
Yeah, you
right?
see something on Pinterest, you like it, and you kind of bring it to the artist, and then the artist kind of sees it.
But do the artists like it?
The artist, it's a funny thing.
Right.
As an art form, they kind of see it as something that's so everlasting. But tattoos are interesting because they are there forever.
It's forever.
So
right?
when you have those trends like that, it's kind of fun to see what happens. And when you see someone come in with a picture of a tattoo, and as an artist, you've seen that 50 other people have gotten that tattoo
Yeah,
within
right.
that week, and then you're like, that's someone else's tattoo. But
Right.
you know, it's
You
still
want something unique.
something
right?
they want. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's
But
a lot of
it's the
advice.
trend that after we have the Pinterest, it seems that everybody's doing
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Right. So which part of the world, the artists that you think you like the best?
I think tattoos, probably in South Africa, are really interesting.
Why? Why so?
South Africa has a very interesting political climate, so they have a whole history that's very complicated, and being third world, but also being exposed to sort of a new metropolitan central city like Cape Town. You have a very interesting, you have very interesting content there because of the political climate. Like I said before, what happens in the world, or what happens in your country or your government will generally change the way
Sure.
your tattoos look. So I thought that was very interesting there.
Right. But sometimes people are concerned about like putting politically related stuff on
Yeah.
you, right?
Definitely. Like I said before, tattoos are kind of forever. So if you have a political statement or something that's more
Right. It's
you know,
pretty strong. yeah.
ephemeral,
Right.
it's not going to last as much. But the thing with tattoos is once you kind of have something on your skin forever, you kind of see, you can kind of look at your body or look at your artwork and see what time period you were in, or what you remember in the past, or it kind of links you to who you were at that time or what was happening at that time. So it helps you kind of remember what was going on, whether it be like a political statement or having like an animal tattooed on you. You remember that animal forever.
Yeah.
So
right.
it is something where it's like forever, and also it might change, but it's still kind of a reminder.
Sure, sure, sure. Will the artists like spend a lot of time talk to their client to find out like what they like and?
Yeah, so sometimes you have a general kind of correlation with tattoos and dumb tattoos maybe sometimes, where people get mistakes or have really like stupid ideas.
Right, right.
So artists really try to find a way to get around that because they don't want to associate tattoos with like just stupid ideas. So they want to kind of push it as an art form. So, but a lot of the artists I talked to, a lot of them talked about trying to push their customers away from doing ideas that won't
But
last.
if the client wants to do it,
Right,
they
yeah.
still, right?
Yeah, they have to. At the end of the day, they have to pay the bills, but
Right, right.
they
But
try
still
to
they try to.
stray away from that.
Sure, sure. What if like they did something, but then the customer didn't like it?
It's always a challenge.
Right.
One aspect of tattoos is cover-up tattoos. So some shops specialize in cover-up tattoos where you'll have a tattoo that's done maybe when, it was not such a good place or a good time to do it. So they specialize in putting tattoos over older tattoos and trying to recreate or reappropriate what is already there into something new and something better.
Sure. It seems like you also been to China, right? China was kind of conservative.
Yeah.
So do they do tattoo a lot?
Yeah, the tattoo culture there is, it's still growing, I think. A lot of the countries in Eastern Asia have a lot of influence from countries that have had tattoos in their culture for longer. For example, like Japan.
Yeah.
So Japan has had a long history of kind of tattoos in their culture.
Sure.
So you have a lot of influence from Japan to Taiwan, and then to China, and then maybe to Vietnam. There's still a lot of developing cultures in maybe China and Vietnam where there's still a lot of room to grow and develop their own sort of style. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. What I found interesting about China is that in America, you have a lot of people getting tattoos of just kind of Chinese letters.
Yeah, right.
And then in China, it's kind of the opposite, where people will get random
English
English
names on
letters.
it?
Yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of a pretty interesting thing.
And what are the other trends that the Chinese people are getting?
They like to do, like I said before, there's a lot of Japanese influence with their kind of stuff, being Eastern Asia.
More like pop culture or more traditional?
Yeah, definitely. I think also with the general, like you said, pop culture, what happens in their history, what happens in pop culture usually reflects in what they have tattooed on their skin.
Sure. Will they still do the dragons on the tattoo?
Yeah, I think it's a more popular one. It's hard to say, I think. I think it changes from like kind of, because China is so big.
Like which part of China did you go?
I went to Shanghai.
So that's the modern part.
Yeah, a little more modern. So like even within like South Africa again, you have like the business district, which is Johannesburg, or you have like the metropolitan city, which is Cape Town. Even within the same country, you have different kind of trends. Like for Shanghai, for example, you have people with more money because it is a more metropolitan city. So the tattoos look different because of that as well. Tattoos are a luxury, so it's something that you, when you have extra money, you can spend on. But it's not necessarily a necessity, so it is something that changes the way tattoos are perceived and what they look like.
Sure. It seems like you had so much fun like doing this documentary.
Yeah.
Did you put a lot of time and effort in it?
Definitely. There was a lot of time that went into it. I spent up to maybe 6 to 8 hours in the parlor, just asking questions, just filming the parlor. Some people thought, you know, it might be a waste of time because you're traveling and, you know, you want to see as much as possible. But I think spending time in tattoo parlors and asking people questions about tattoos and their culture was a good window into what their society is like and what their culture is like. So beyond like talking to a local, it was kind of like talking to someone who's seen a little bit of everyone. They've seen tourists, they've seen locals, they've seen sort of everyone in between. So getting to talk to them was very interesting. I could have really spent a month or a few weeks at any one of those parlors. Just talking to them and seeing where their story would go and where their path would eventually take them, because so many of the artists were so unique and so just interesting to talk to. So.
And also it's very meaningful for you.
Yeah.
And how much time did you spend like editing?
Editing took a long time. It took about over 100 hours probably.
Wow.
Maybe
for 20 minutes documentary.
Yeah, for 20-minute documentary.
Wow.
There's a lot that goes into editing. Some of the interviews would run for about 45 minutes to an hour, and some of them would be only 20 minutes. So depending on how your interview goes, you have a lot of footage to kind of cut down. And then from there, when you have it cut down, you have to have a flow of the interview that makes sense from one topic to the next. You can't just kind of really skip around. So it was really important that I ask questions and ask follow-up questions that would kind of lead into the other countries. So I'm kind of used to being behind the cameras instead of being in front of them. So this is really new for me as well. But
it's always good to try something new.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Did you do this all by yourself, or you have a partner?
It was mostly a solo project, but I had a few friends help me out with kind of transcribing the interviews and also running the interview once or twice when I had to kind of be behind the cameras. But most of the project was done on my own. Yeah.
Wow. And you also did another project, right? You have your original version of the La La Land.
Yeah.
Do you want to share a bit
Yeah,
about it?
of course. So near the end of the voyage, sort of, we had a project for our film class. So me and my few friends had to kind of think of an idea of what to do for the class and for the project. So the project was to kind of focus on one aspect of film that was very interesting to all of us. And something that we all found very interesting is long takes, which is pretty much anything in a movie where it doesn't ever cut. It kind of just keeps going and the camera sort of floats through the scene.
Sure.
And a recent movie that did that very well is La La Land.
Yeah.
And it's something that's very popular recently, and something that we have all seen already, and we all kind of were interested in doing. So we ended up doing that, and one of my classmates was really good at musical theater. So she rewrote the lyrics, and then from there it kind of started building and building.
Wow.
And then people were interested in seeing
Seems
what we
like
were
a lot
doing.
of people are in this.
Yeah,
one.
definitely. So after a while, it just kind of became a thing bigger than our project, bigger than our class, something for the ship community to participate in.
So eventually, how many people were participating in it?
We had close to around 40 to 50 people.
Wow, that's a lot.
Just like between extras, crew members.
Sure.
But it was a lot of fun, but very stressful. We filmed during finals time, so it was a lot of planning ahead of time to see when we could get locations and when people were free, because we had so many people. The more people you have, the more moving pieces, and the more you have to plan around their schedule.
Definitely, coordination is hard.
Yeah, definitely. So our writer was our coordinator as well, so she had a very tough job coordinating, sending emails, and then rescheduling people. So that was tough. But
so what were you in charge of?
I was in charge of cinematography. So once the script was written, me and my friends produced kind of the idea of where we wanted to shoot locations. I was in charge of kind of the camera work and the picture, pretty much in front of the camera, so the lighting, the camera itself, the stabilizer.
Lighting could be hard on the ship, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the biggest challenges of doing long takes is if you're doing a long take from one room to the next room to the next room, the lighting changes from all three rooms.
Sure.
So you kind of have to kind of take that into account and sort of plan ahead of time.
Interesting. Was it really challenging for you?
Yeah, it was a big challenge. We ended up with 2 lights on the ship that we could move around because we didn't have much equipment that we brought with us.
Right.
So a lot of the lighting and a lot of the color grading was done in post to kind of try to make it a little more smooth.
Is there anything unexpected happen?
Oh, definitely. We had a few injuries. So
was everyone okay?
Everyone was okay, but when you have people running around the ship and the ship is also rocking back and forth, you have sometimes where you'll do a take or a long take and then someone falls over or falls down or someone stubs a toe or something like that.
And they were dancing, right?
Yeah, and everyone's dancing and moving around, so that was kind of hard.
But they were okay.
They were
just
fine.
tripped.
Yeah, everyone was kind of running on. We didn't have any budget of any sort, so it was just kind of our own hard work and lack of sleep that could have kept the production
But that
going.
made more sense. That's more meaningful for you guys.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. Seeing the final product and everyone's hard work put together.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other unexpected stuff happen?
Besides the rocking the ship, that's pretty much it, I'd say. I think there's a lot of rescheduling because we were filming during finals time. It's a musical, so people would have to be singing and going through the halls, and people are studying. So that was kind of annoying for us and for them. So that was kind of unexpected as well.
Wow. So at the end of the program, will you recommend this program to your friends or to our audience who is interested in?
Yeah, I'd definitely say so. If you're planning on going abroad, I'd say it's definitely something worth looking into, especially if you can't decide which country you want to pick. It's definitely a good program to help you look at each country individually for a little bit, just to help you decide and see a little bit of everything.
If people ask you to write a review about this program, what would you put in it?
The first thing was probably don't forget that you don't have any internet. Because you have to kind of really transition.
If you can live with it.
Yeah, if you can live without that, then you'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I had friends on the ship who would like check their phone and pull up Instagram or pull up Snapchat just to have it not load and have them kind of like freak out or forget a little bit. But
then you get used to it eventually.
Yeah, and then another thing is go in with an open mind and you'll have a great time. You really have to be flexible with your plans and the people you meet and how you travel.
Right, but you think that worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's going to be a memorable experience for your life.
Right.
Right. Is there any scary experience during the trip?
Yeah, I think there's a few of them. When you get to travel abroad, when they let you go off the ship, you really are on your own.
Sure.
If you're not on a field program, there's not much hand-holding, so you really have to travel with a plan or have something, where you know this place is safe to travel in.
Sure.
Because a lot of places you travel in are not necessarily the safest.
Sure.
So you definitely have to sort of plan ahead of time to make sure you're in good hands.
You want to get the risk or not.
Yeah.
Right.
There was one instance in South Africa where I'd gone to a brewery in kind of this, I forget the town, but the name of it.
It's okay.
But I think it was Woodstock.
Okay.
So Woodstock was pretty much in South Africa. Woodstock was one of the towns where after the apartheid ended, a lot of the homeless and a lot of the kind of poorer areas were displaced to this area. Yeah. So it was not so good. It's kind of being gentrified and sort of being rebuilt. Right. So I went there to go to dinner.
Why did you want to go there?
I had a friend recommend me to go there to visit. So after when I got there, I took an Uber there. And then when I got off, I saw this person and I took his picture. I asked him if I could take his picture, and he had his dog with him. And it was like the sun was setting. It was a really nice picture. And then I crossed the street to go get dinner. And then when I came back out, I was gonna walk kind of toward the city to find a taxi or find some internet, maybe like a 7-Eleven to like find internet. And as I started walking, the guy who I took a picture of stopped me. He kind of yelled across the street, and then he kind of told me to stop. And then he kind of like went across the street, and I was.
Were you scared?
I was a little scared. I was kind of curious to know what he wanted. And then he asked me if I was gonna walk this way. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go find a taxi or find some sort of like Wi-Fi.
Were you alone?
Yeah, I was alone at this point. And then he told me that if I had walked that way, or if I kept going that way, I would have definitely gotten robbed. So he told me that this kind of area in this kind of neighborhood, a lot of the tourists and even the locals get robbed here. And that earlier when I walked across the street, I had walked past a robber, and he thought he was gonna rob me then, but luckily he didn't. No. So I kind of like was sort of baffled, didn't know what to do, and I was like, well, I don't have any internet. Or service because we don't really have phone data or phone plans when we're traveling. So I didn't really know what to do, and I kind of asked him, is there any place I can sit down for Wi-Fi or any place that has taxis? He's like, no, you have to go towards the city center, which is kind of a couple miles like that way. Right. And then he asked me if I had, could call anyone or do anything. And I was like, I don't have any contacts or service. I can't really do anything. Right. And then he kind of just like looked around and offered to start walking me back to the city center. Wow. I was kind of skeptical at first, and then kind of didn't know whether I should accept his offer. But the alternative was just to walk by myself. So I kind of reluctantly said yes. And then he called over his dog, and his dog was really nice. and we kind of just started walking and talking. Right. And as it turned out, he was like really, really cool. And he turned out to be kind of a Batman and Robin with his dog. He would stop crimes from happening amidst foreigners, locals, tourists. Since the area has a lot of robberies, him and his dog would stop the robberies from happening. He would have his dog go chase down the robbers or tell people to run. And it turned out to be an interesting experience, actually. Yeah, a really interesting experience. He was a really interesting guy. Right. And then he named his dog Wise because his dog was really smart. So he would kind of talk to his dog almost in English, well, Wise, what did I say about walking on that side of the street? And then the dog would kind of look at him and then cross over to his other side. Yeah, it was really funny. Right. So we ended up just kind of walking and talking, and ended up actually going all the way back to the waterfront, which is where our ship was. So from there, we kind of just talked and walked for about 2 miles, 2.5 miles. And that was just really interesting experience from being almost robbed to meeting a really cool person. Yeah.
Wow, quite an experience.
Yeah, and his name also turned out to be Andrew as well. So we kind of shared our first name. Yeah,
Two Andrews.
Yeah, a very interesting thing. Yeah.
Cool. So today, thank you so much for your sharing. 观众朋友，谢谢你们今天的收看，有朋来访不亦乐乎。我们下期节目再见。